Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. I haven't done these in a while, so I felt I'd do one this evening. A question that I'm often asked is, do I worry or do I make mistakes or do I confuse languages that are similar, Mandarin and Cantonese, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and so forth? Well, the answer is that I probably do. Uh, the weaker languages tend to get interference from the stronger languages. So my Cantonese will have Mandarin in it. My Portuguese will have Spanish in it. My Italian will have Spanish in it. But I don't worry about it because I would rather be able to speak three languages with mistakes than speak one language with no mistakes. In any case, I can't speak one language with no mistakes. So it really does bother me. Knowing related languages helps you to speak those languages, even with the odd bit of mixture. It's just not a problem, in my opinion. And, I'm going to say a little bit more about this issue of errors. Because I'm preparing an ebook of my blog. I've had my blog now, The Linguist on Language, for over 5 years, and I've selected some of my posts over these 5 years and put them into a book. And I've been working on it for the last little while. And part of my blog posts, or some of my blog posts, have been with reference to books that I have read. So therefore, I've gone back and reread some of these books, or at least leafed through them. One of these books was a book called Second Nature: Brain Science and Human Knowledge, by Gerald Edelman, who is also a Nobel Prize winner in medicine. And I'm not sure I fully understand the book. Gerald Edelman has a background in immunology and the sort of selectionist response of our immune system to various viruses and so forth. And he takes that into his analysis of the brain and how the neurons, all however many billion of them there are, in our 3-pound brain, how they respond in a sort of selectionist way to all of the tremendous stimulus, impulse, experience, information that the brain gets deluged with. And he makes the point that in order to cope with all this information, the brain deals with comparisons, things that are similar, metaphors, he says. In other words, it tries to look for patterns. And in doing so, it's able to cope well with all this information, but by the same token, it's not able to be precise or logical. So I think that's a very important point. We have to accept error as a part of dealing with this tremendous amount of information. And when we are dealing with a language, we're dealing with a tremendous amount of information, many, many words, many combinations of words, and so it is better for us to absorb all this input, the words, the phrases, look for similarities, look for patterns, rather than to try to come up with precision, error-proof production of the language. So, just his analysis of how the brain works kind of confirms my approach to language. My approach is more, many, much, varied, rather than precision. And this evening, I was just thinking. I went out for dinner because my wife went off to Toronto and I didn't want to cook. So I took with me my book. I'm reading a Brazilian book, written in Portuguese. I can't remember what it's called actually, but it begins in Sao Paulo, where the writer of the book meets with this older Japanese lady who tells him a story that took place in Japan. So the bulk of the book so far takes place in Japan, but I'm reading it in Portuguese. The book started in Brazil, and the first person in the book, although I don't think the author is, but the first person in the book is a Brazilian of Japanese origin. So I'm reading this book. And as I read the book about Japan, I have this tremendous longing to read some Japanese literature, because there is that certain quality of quiet and stillness which may not be representative of life in Japan as it is today, but it is representative of some of the most attractive aspects of Japanese culture, literature, architecture, nature, and so forth. So through the Japanese book, my desire now to maybe the next book I grab will be a Japanese book. So that stimulated my interest. In the restaurant where I was sitting, it so happened that the owner is French, and they share this patio with a Japanese restaurant. And I happen to know that the Japanese restaurant is run by a Korean and his partner, a Korean Canadian, and his partner used to be a Japanese Canadian. And sitting there is this family that I take to be some kind of Middle Eastern. I don't know if they're Armenian or Lebanese or what they are, Persian maybe. And they're all eating with chopsticks, and they're eating Japanese food. So all I'm saying is that there is so much variety in terms of human culture, food, language, experience, and the more of it we can experience and take part in, the better. And all of that is much more important than nailing down little bits of grammar or how you're supposed to hold the chopstick or whether you bow with your left side of the head or the right side. All this other detail, it doesn't really matter, in my view. So really, today I didn't have much to say other than we can't be free of error. We're going to be committing errors in our discovery of languages. The brain has us preconditioned to make mistakes because our brain is looking for similarities, comparisons, metaphors, and in order to cope with this tremendous amount of information, this tremendous variety, the brain is structured in such a way as to sacrifice accuracy. And that's good. So we may as well enjoy it. I don't know if all of this makes sense. I might add that the weather here in Vancouver has been awesome the last little while. The sun has been warm, much warmer than usual, and that I have been enjoying swimming in the ocean and kayaking, and with my son and grandson we dropped some crab traps, but we didn't catch any crabs, and we're just enjoying the summer. So the main thing is just enjoy. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.